Hey everyone, so episode 2 actually ended up covering a few of the things that were touched upon in this video. This video was made like quite literally a few hours before episode 2 came out, so if there's any parts that sound redundant, that's why. That said, episode 2, while touching on a few more of the ideas, didn't really go into full details, so there is still some worthwhile context that you can get from this video. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in with a Mushoku Tensei or Jobless Reincarnation video. This time specifically covering just how bad was Rudy actually, the many layers of suck adapted out. So, Jobless Reincarnation is here, and one of the things I was going to be concerned about didn't really show up in the first episode. Rudeus is a really gross person on the inside, and you do see glimmers of that during the anime, but the anime does tone it down significantly. So here in this first video, I'll tell you just how bad Rudeus was before he died, and also why he was so bad, and what that taught him. See, the video isn't just about introducing you to the parts of this character that the anime didn't show in the first episode. It's also about showing you why Rudy being a terrible person is actually important for how his second life develops, that you don't really get that in the anime. So let's get into it. Rudeus is a shut-in. Or was. We know this much, but here's how bad things got before we see him in the anime, before he saved those kids. Before the anime starts, he had been fat, shabby, weak, not employed, not educated, not trained, made homeless for 3 hours prior, and he was homeless because his parents had died and he didn't go to the funeral. Instead, he was, I'll let him say it.
Being the shut-in that I was, I obviously didn't attend the funeral or the family gathering thereafter.
And he further went on to really give us the little bit of the detail, saying,
on the day of the funeral, I was halfway through jerking off, my body arched in the air, when my brothers and sisters barged into my room in their mourning garb and delivered their letter formally disowning me.
Anyway, he ignored the letter, which led to the younger brother smashing his computer after the older brother beat the shit out of him and kicked him out with only the clothes on his back. As he says, however,
what the hell had I even done wrong? All I did was skip out on our parents' funeral so I could spank it to uncensored lowly porn.
So, already there, not a great guy. He was pretty bad, but this terrible layer of suck is actually really important. But before we get to that part, let's understand why he had gone so bad. According to Rudy, he had quite a little bit of a story when it came to bullies.
There was an incident from back then that I still remembered. I was in line to buy lunch from the school store when someone cut in front of me. Being the morally upstanding young man I was, I gave him a piece of my mind.
As it turned out, however, the guy was relatively volatile. As Rudy says,
he and his buddies pounded my face swollen and puffy, then hung me from the school gate, buck naked, practically crucified for all to see. They took a ton of pictures, which they circulated throughout the school like it was some simple prank. My social standing among my classmates plummeted to rock bottom overnight, leaving me with the nickname Pencil Dick. I stopped going to school for over a month, holing up in my room instead. My father and older brothers saw the state I was in and told me to keep my chin up and not to give up and other patronizing things like that. I ignored it all. It wasn't my fault. Who could bring themselves to go to school under circumstances like mine? Nobody, that's who. So, no matter what anyone said, I remained steadfastly holed up. All of the other kids in my class had seen those pictures and were laughing at me. I was sure of it.
So, fair enough, that when you're practically crucified in front of all your classmates, I'm not really expecting you to want to go back to school either. People have been moved from schools for less. So there we had a very interesting justification for why someone would have a very self-destructive lifestyle. This person was horrifically bullied. But there is something else that happened that was really interesting in that early portion. It would be one thing to have an absolutely terrible person, but what happens when the person is self-aware? Well, we get even more layers of suck. In the novel, after being kicked out, Rudy takes a hard look at himself and tells the reader that, hey, he's actually capable of being decent while also showing us like, wow, you know, brutally honest. Throughout this introspection portion, we see Rudy being honest about developing many interests and hobbies only to give up on them. The reason he did this was because he'd lose all motivation when he saw someone better than him. He then calls this a bad excuse, points out that he should have stuck with something, even saying that he was the type of person who would make fun of people who tried to make something of themselves. This portion was particularly interesting since Jobless Reincarnation started out as a web novel. In this portion, he was making fun of people that tried to make a start for themselves by posting novels online. Anyway, what this portion tells us is that now at rock bottom, Rudy knows he could have done better, that he could have accomplished something. Through his introspections, though, he also tells us a wonderful story about a childhood friend that culminates in,
"To this day, I can get off 3 times in a row with the prompts junior high, childhood friend, and track team."
You don't need to know that bit of information, but I thought you'd be enriched. Anyway, that whole portion about the introspection was important because it was only through the introspection that he ended up in a place where he could jump in to save the 3 high schoolers. He jumped in to save those kids because he knew they could still be people in their lives and that they could still be worthwhile. And also, you know, that it kind of showed that he was relatively good under many layers of suckitude. Anyway, all the layers of suck are important because it informs who Rudeus is going to be going forward. But the most important thing comes in his affirmation from volume 1, from chapter 1.
"A world of swords and sorcery. And it occurred to me, if I lived in this world, I could do all those things, too. After all, this was a place of high fantasy, one that didn't obey the same rules of common sense as my past life. I could live as a typical person, doing the typical things for this world. Where I stumbled, I would get back up, dust myself off, and forge onward. My former self had died full of regret, died feeling frustrated at his powerlessness and how he'd never accomplished anything. But now I knew all of my missteps. With all the knowledge and experience from my past life, I could finally do it."
It's an affirmation born from the knowledge of how badly life could go for you if you don't try. It's only because he sucks so hard, the minute that he sucks so hard, that the story gets to start. But he still has a lot of problematic qualities that you're sure to find out about because some habits die hard. Anyway, final thing is that it's worth pointing out that Rudy's problematic qualities are by design. In other words, they're an intended character flaw. You don't read Jobless Reincarnation and think that Rudy's character traits are good. It's just unfortunate that the writer did too good of a job of making Rudy distasteful at times, because like sometimes he's just like, alright, I really wish I did not have that inner look into the mind of an old man in a child's body. Anyway, everyone, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. In the description down below, there is a link to the Mushoku Tensei Amazon page. If you want to buy any one of the volumes, you can just go on one of those links. If you want to read the novel yourself, you can go ahead and do that. They are affiliate links as well, so if you buy anything through them, it also helps out the channel, which, you know, an option, but you don't really have to. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.